Okay, so sorry about that. OBS has apparently decided to trash my audio settings. But so yeah, let's start over. Welcome to the fifth of our live coding streams. So yeah, I hope everyone had a good Christmas. Christmas, Hanukkah, solstice, whichever festive thing you may be celebrating if you are. And yeah, so today I am hoping to get some work done on our maps. I want to try and have the map engine loading maps from files so that we can start to put together some work on our overworld map, and I'd also like to start to maybe work towards having a less terrible tile set. So I am currently creating linked objects in Affinity so that we can use those for our tile sort of backgrounds. Which means that as I edit one, it will edit all of them. Yeah. So now if we fill one tile, it changes all of the tiles. And if we do that for our grass ones as well, we should be able to then edit the tiles. Let's take those out. Let's lock that one. Yeah, so this is going to allow us to manage our tile set a bit smarter, I think, in that we'll be able to work on one sort of base grass texture, and that will sort of fan out to the others. So yeah, so what I would like to do today, if possible, is get our texture sort of our base textures, nothing too fancy, but something a bit less gorish. And then load that into tiled, and we'll see how that goes. And I'd like to try and add maybe a third texture into this as well. Cool. So we'll possibly look at having a water texture. So if I quickly finish duplicating these tiles across. I think I've settled on a palette as well. So so being completely rubbish at this sort of stuff myself, I decided to go Low Spec is a pretty cool site, so they have a palette section. And the one I was looking at that I really liked, I had a look for quite a few of these, but the one that I quite liked the look of, if we can find it again, is this one. So we might start out with this palette. It has like a good sort of range of each colour. So I think we might start here, and then we'll see where we end up in the future. I have unfortunately got the standard affliction of every time that I stop work, I find myself sick. So stopping for the holiday season, it was basically inevitable. I think the general stress and go of work means that you don't really have as much time to be sick as you would otherwise, but yeah, it's finally caught up with me. So what do we want here? We want the palettes. Swatches, that's the one. Sorry, wrong tab we had there. So I did, at least I thought I loaded the palette in, but we don't seem to have it, so okay. We will import the palette. We'll load it into the application, and I did download these into a folder. Let me find that quickly. Yeah, I downloaded a few of these to have a look. But what's the one we wanted? We wanted Apollo. There we go. And then can we... Let's... Let's make these a bit bigger. There we go. Can we go... What happens if we go up 2 large boxes? That's a bit too large. Okay. Yeah, so we can see our color sort of map here. So I guess if we are going to go for grass, we should find which of these we actually like the most. Let's clear this back to a standard color for now. Let's clear the marquee. I'm not sure that's the right color for though. Let's yeah, I think that's more of a or do we want to go darker? I think that could be a good color for our sort of base. Now, so this is our grass, and this is the. We'll make this the path texture. So then we want a good sort of coloring for that. Oh. Let's unlock this. We'll find. Yeah, let's look at this one in the middle. One we can actually see fully. Okay, so that's maybe a bit too light. That's maybe a good base for our sort of dirt tile. Yeah, actually, so yeah, let's call this dirt. Let's move the layering out for now. Delete that or hide that. So if I create okay, so it won't let me create a duplicate like that. So we're going to want to introduce a third texture. What are we actually going to need? So we're going to need, if we introduce water, we're going to have dirt, grass, water, then we have, so we have dirt with grass, dirt with water, grass with water, so it'll be 3, I think. 3 combinations? Yeah, so three combinations, I think, is the is where we're at with this. So let's zoom out a little bit, and we will want to change the size of this document. So resize our canvas. Let's unlink that, and we'll go. Three times. Actually, maybe we'll go twice as wide and twice as deep. Yeah, so okay. So given that, oh, hang on, where is it? Mask to below, isn't it? Mask to below. Next, we're going to want a sort of a water layer. So if we create a new one, we'll use one of the blues. And that will be our water tile. So then if we duplicate this one. Oh. Are they linked? Yes. Okay, so let's quickly create a whole bunch of linked border tiles, and then we'll put the mud and the grass ones on top of this, I think. these still linked? Yep. Layer, duplicate. Duplicate linked. There we go. So we're slowly building this out. And then we'll create two of the above, two more we will create two sort of duplicates of this, of the other textures, and we'll put the map up on top of those as well. Okay, there we go. So now we can group these. Group these. We lock these layers as well, then those won't be able to move while we slowly build up our other texture. So let's move this out of the group that it's in there. We want it over here, and we want it right at the, we want this one right at the top of the stack for now. So then if we duplicate some more, so yeah, this is why we were looking last week at the was it last week or the week before? Yeah, well, the last 2 weeks we were looking at our map and getting the terrain stuff in so that we could effectively, and the half sort of offset tiles. This meant that we could then massively reduce the amount of tiles that we needed. Because could you imagine if we had to do this with like 40, what was it, 140 tiles, I think it was, per combination? It's like it would literally take forever. Whereas here we've got a lot less tiles, and well, to be honest, it's still taking a significant amount of time just to sorry, just to get these just to work on these lower ones. I mean, I'm probably actually a bit dim, and there's maybe a faster way to preserve the links, but when I've tried like this, they seem to lose. Oh, actually, well, they claim to have retained the link there, so see what happens if we fill. Okay, Huh. Okay. Duplicate. Link. Oh, see, but then that time they've lost their link. Hmm. No. Yeah, it's not doing very particularly. It's being particularly unhelpful with this stuff, but unfortunately there is no quick shortcut key for this as well, so I'd have to go and edit the application shortcuts to add a new hotkey for it, but I mean, we're almost there now. So let's grab all of those. We will group them together as path. Path and water. It's a shame we can't rename them all at once, or can we? No. Where is that somehow escaped. Okay, so now if we take our fill tool and we edit one of the path tiles, it edits all of them. Cool. And then we're going to want our mask again. And then mask to below. And then we should probably actually start grouping these ones as well, right? So let's move that up. So this is path plus water. And we'll group here as well. And This is path plus grass. Then if we duplicate this one, select that and that one. Take our grass tile and we can make a start on the grass to water transition tiles. So quickly fill this in. These ones will need something extra as well, so they kind of need to have a bit of a sort of base to them as well to show that they're sort of raised out of the water a bit. So we'll have a look at that in a sec as well. So layer. Alright, so we've got a bunch of tiles now sorted out. And we will add some so we'll group those together. We'll grab our mask again. Mask to below. Here we want to put it over here, don't we? Mask to below. There we go. Okay, so we've got a transition between three different tiles now. Let's group those. Group, and that is that's our grass plus water. Okay, so I think what we want next is actually if we take the shape and put it underneath these tiles and we bring it down a little bit. Do we want to bring it over slightly? That could be the the sort of adjusted sort of look we want, I think. So nothing. Oh. So then if we hide that for now and we edit this, kind of want. Oh. We want to fill in the gaps on the edges there, I guess. And then we'll change the color to something that matches a bit better. Yeah, so we're going to put these edges, we want to extend it up a bit. And then we want to make sure that the take two pixels off the bottom. So here and on the other side. There we go. And then now if we move this down to where it is, we zoom. Oh. And we zoom right out, re-enable our grass layer. Yeah, so I think that's a good sort of base, and we want to pick a different color for that. So if we go back to our swatches, darker brown, no. Yeah, and then we can use the same layer on our path plus water. Put that in there. We move it all the way up. I guess with this one we want to also create a linked one, don't we? Close the swatches, and we want to move this one into the there we go. So yeah, I think that's not it's not the best, but I don't think it's too bad either for our bait. Oh. I will stop confusing this for the magnifying glass soon. Hopefully. Yeah, so hi Story, welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah. Oh. And classy YouTube logging me out of chat in OBS just as I want to type something. let's get the chat lock back in. Yeah, I've had nothing but trouble with OBS lately. It's been quite disappointing. But hi Story, welcome in, and yeah, streaming this morning. It's probably not going to be the longest one, but most of you've been looking at our tile set, so I took out the terrible tiles that we made before are gone. We've got these fairly flat ones for now, but I'll polish these up a bit in the future. I need to work on the transition a bit around these so that they put some actual grass sort of texture in here. Things, put a couple of wavy bits in the water, some pebbles on the path and stuff, but it is coming together. So with that now done, let's save our tiles and export them. Tiles, and we'll replace the ones in the game engine. So that's now given us some tiles, and if we go back here, we'll be able to see said tiles. The trouble is, if we now run the game, it's going to mess everything up, I think. So, yeah. But it does look kind of funky. So what we're going to need to do is remap our tiles, because now, instead of going just across one set, we're going across two. So I think in our game, in our init.lua, we mapped these tiles across. So I think we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then 25, 26, 27, and 28. Let's what is a crawler exactly? So in this case, I'm using it as abbreviation for a dungeon crawler. So a games similar in vein to I guess Diablo would be a pretty good idea of one. So where you sort of go into a dungeon and fight your way through it. I'm trying to think of any other big ones. So Hades is sort of a dungeon crawler. It's also a roguelite. I think we're going to have some roguelite elements in this, but I didn't really... I've found that... I've noticed that people get quite upset about the terminology when it comes to rogues. And what is a rogue, what is a roguelite, and what isn't either of them. So I don't really want to upset those people too much. So I'm going with the more generic term of a dungeon crawler, i.e. a game where you sort of enter in to a maze of some sort and you fight your way through, pick up loot on the way, and then eventually at the end face off with a boss and hopefully escape. But yeah, there's a lot of people who seem very have very strong opinions about rogue based games, so we do not in any way want to upset those people at all. Okay, let's add in our third terrain in here. Actually, this can wait. So what we have here is I've been assigning the tiles based on this tile atlas tile set and the map of the different terrains to mapping these different terrains to the individual tile offsets. But I wonder if this should be a layer above. So maybe we separate this out from the map and the tile set itself, and what we do is we take something like this and then we run it through a function that will spit out the individual tile IDs instead. But then I also want to make sure that if we change any tiles, that it reflects properly. So maybe we do want to kind of keep the special sort of offset grid. Or maybe we do this as a form of layering. Okay, yeah, so I think our tile map is going to have to, well, it was always going to need a concept of layers. I'm just thinking how they would work. So I think yeah, so I think we're going to need to yeah, so I think the setup we have kind of works, but we need it to be we need it to work ever so slightly differently. So in our map let's go for a let's extend our map to have a concept of layers, I think. No, we don't need this just yet. We will need to add layers because what we will want eventually is to be able to render some tiles above and some tiles below the player. But for now, I think it's probably okay as it is. Okay. So what we're going to want is to add a function to our map. No. Here. What? See, this is the. There is a running joke that naming things is basically the hardest thing in computer science, and it's not necessarily wrong. Okay, so we'll have our terrain data. Yeah. So we have a function. Take a param data, which is an array of integers, and it will return tiles, which is return it will return the tile indexes. We'll take terrain. And then we'll also take a map. Mapping, which will be take a terrain set, which will be a table of string to integer. Okay. So given this, we can then go and we'll have width and height as well. Okay, so we've got our width, our height, our terrain set, and our terrain. Maybe we'll put the terrain set, not. It feels like I keep saying train set. So that'll be 1, 2, width. So we had our drawing. Here, so I guess it's the same as this to some extent. Except, so then we're going to loop over it, and then we're going to look at the terrain, and this will give us the individual things. And then what we want to do is look up the value in our terrain set dictionary. Well, I guess it is a table in law. So then we want terrain set for that. Sorry. So I guess for each of, I guess the map that we have is going to be one wider than the existing. I did not get a train set from Santa, no. No, Santa brought me fancy cheeses and bottles of bubbly things. Which very much more grown up haul than a train set. No. Yeah, so let's go. We're gonna have tiles here, and that is going to be a table. I guess as we walk through, this yeah, no, I know plenty of adults play with trains, but to be honest, I don't even think I'd have room for a train set if I had one. I say that with quite the large home office, but yeah, after I'd have to get rid of like a computer or a TV or a sofa or something for toys of that nature, but so I think so I think we should be able to do something like this. If we take the drawing method and then at the end we return the tiles. Let's add a new line. Yeah, so This is the same logic we were using to look up the individual tiles before. But now we're mapping it straight into this, into a number for the tile index, and we're returning these this tiles. So I think if we then take that, and when we draw the map, instead of we draw draw data y times width plus x instead. If we come to this, we can sorry, this is yeah, if we then comment out this one and we replace it with version just takes index, which I realize that this method has been flipping back and forth quite a bit. Yeah, if we take this instead, now we should in theory have and then we need the no, I don't think this is right at all. So I was thinking that we kind of want to do this outside of our. I was thinking that we wanted to do this outside of our tile set, outside of the map, but we lose so much by moving it outside. What we would gain is a map editor, but I guess we could we can kind of make do without that to some extent, though. Okay. So I think let's add in a new. We'll add a new tile set. Here we go. So we'll define our tile sets info outside of here, I think. Yeah, I was thinking if we made the map simple, so it just had the tiles that it needed to render, and then would render that out, render that out plain, then that will give us something that we could then use with a tile set editor, with a tile map editor like tiled, and then we could write a script to load the tiled output into our map. So that would mean that we could then go in and have very fine control over how we draw the map itself. For things like the overworld, for instance. So when we were designing and for little prefabs, so if we're drawing the overworld, like the town that you start in, we'll be able to have fine control over all of the tiles in that. And then when we make a change, then when we made a change, we would be able to render those tiles. Sorry. Yeah, I was thinking if we make the tile set, if we make the map just render the tiles it's given, rather than doing the mapping from our sort of base tile into the parent tiles, then we could do we'd have a high degree of control over how the map is rendered, which would mean we could then we could then take that and render it out. And we could design our maps in external tools, which would give us a much more we could be much more fancy with how we design the overworld, and maybe some prefabs as well. So things like if we decide that when we generate the dungeon and things, we might maybe want to put a little pre-designed thing into the we want to put some sort of pre-designed like little structure into the dungeon. So like maybe we put a shrine or something in there, or we could design that similarly, and we could just sort of copy those across into the map more easily. But with that in mind, on the flip side of that though, what we have with our existing setup is we can change things more easily. So if we want to have some walls and then destroy a wall. So if we have like a terrain wall and then we want to destroy that, or if we want to allow some sort of interaction with the environment, and we want to allow someone to create a path, for instance, or something to create a path. And at the moment, all the transitions would automatically would happen automatically for us, and we'd only have to deal with the very base level tiles. So I'm thinking maybe we need something slightly more abstract that we can use to render this stuff. For now, I think we want to wire up the rest of these tiles. So what I'm thinking is that we remap this, like we change some of this. I want to move some of the config into a separate file. I'm getting a bit lost in this. No, actually, yeah, no, right. No, let's focus on what we were looking at. Okay, so we've got this method. This will remap an entire map into. This will remap our simple tiles into the more complex tiles. And this will render that. So draw. Yeah. So, so when we do this, I think this runs over one. I think rather than width, we want to width -2, height -2, and then we'll get a map that's one tile smaller. Don't need this. So if y +1 there, and this will be x +1, x +1. Then we're missing something. Too many. Okay, and then these come out. So this is just +2. This is +2. Right, so I think this will map the terrain into the tiles, fine. And then this will render it. Yeah. And then we'll put this simplified drawing method back in. And then when we initialize our map, our tileset has the terrain. Yeah, so it's .terrains. So when we go into our tile map, when we actually maybe this should be on the tile set itself. So the tile set then has call it from terrain and self. Rather than terrain set there, we'll go self.terrains, and this will return tiles, width and height. We'll return -1 on each of those because we're going to reduce the size ever so slightly. And then we've got, yeah, so it'll also return an integer width and return an integer height. So we've got that, and then when we come into loading our map, we have our map data here. Maybe we should actually return a vector 2 of the, yeah. We can return the vector 2 directly, which will be size, and this will be vector2.new width -1 and height -1. So then when we instantiate things, we can go here and we go local tiles map size equals tileset dot from terrain colon from terrain, and then we pass in the map data here, and we pass in 16 and 15. Actually, let's call this map data. And then when we create our map, we can pass in the map data and the map size. We'll call it the data. There we go. And then if we run our game again, do we get the same thing back? No. Index fields terrains. This is in our tile set. So in our tile set on line 81, so terrains is nil. It's definitely passed into our set here. Okay, let's run again with our debugger and we can check what happens from. Oh, if we actually set the debugger in the right place, so it won't execute an empty line. So we've got our terrain, which is our 2s and 1s. For itself. I think I know what's going on. So what did we? Yeah. So we called this tiles, and then when we called the method, we called it on the module itself and not the instance. So if we run things again now, line 80. Okay, so this is this works well. We can see it climbing up through the X and Y's. Oh, sorry. So we can see the underlying. We can see the underlying data. We can see it climbing up through the X and Y's. But we know errors. The errors probably on Y. On X, wait. No, this is going completely the wrong way around. So we want to loop over. We want to loop over Y for each X. Is it still error? Yes. And then we want to take the let's print out everything that it renders, every coordinate it tries to render, and then we'll be able to look at the debug console and see where it actually crashes. Let's give it another run. So before this errored, it was on 12.13, and then so before this errored, it's on 12.13. And then if we look at our is that here? How do we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. How many crosses do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, so 16 across, 15 down. reckon it's here that it's going wrong as well. So let's output that number as well. So then if we run things once more, still error. So in theory we should have 240. We should have 240 we should have 240 tiles. Still, so it's not. So this one's getting out of bounds. Comment that one out instead. So it's still, yeah, it's still trying to get access that nil value, but it's not, it shouldn't be possible. So if we go width is width, h is height, and length is the length of terrains. Of terrain. See what we get when we run that. We can see the actual shape of the data that's coming in. So we scroll up here. 16 by 15 and it's 128. So one of these is going hugely out of bounds. It doesn't seem that any of them are the likely suspect though. So let's print all of the numbers instead. This will probably be easier. So we will wrap each of these in some brackets. Then we would see the numbers for each tile that it's trying to access from our tile set. sure that there is a space in between each. Make sure there's a space in between each one. Take that out. Now if we run it, let's see if we can spot the problem with this last. Oh, now we have a syntax error. Task set deliver on line 77. Ah. Oh. There we go. So now run again. So all of these values seem sensible. Our map data is in the right format. So where is it going wrong? Yeah. This here is basically 90% of programming. It's just that they're completely confused and perplexed by something that should is not obviously wrong, but just isn't working anyway. Okay, so if we let's try take out some of the values. So it's interestingly neither of the last two is one of the first ones. Oh. Yes, it's that is 21 there instead of changing 1 to 2, I typed the 2 and didn't delete the 1. But here we go. So now we're back. We're back in business, and we're back to having our map rendered. Okay. But we've also got our simple tiles. And then I think we'll have I think I'll have two different types of map, maybe, or different types of layer. And one will be a terrain layer, and one will be a tile layer. And somehow I'll link the two together so that as we update the terrain, the tiles change. So I think that'll be how we'll keep our easy sort of manipulation of the maps. So okay, so we have our tile set stuff here. Let's take this print out because we don't need any of this anymore. And yeah, not having to do as much calculation to draw things will potentially make things a bit faster as well. So we can simplify some of this down a bit. Okay. Yeah, and then I think the last step is that we want to we want to look at the map, and we want to add some layers. We want to have layers on it. So if we go if we have a tile layer and we go our standard module setup, function m.new, and return set meta table of self to empty. There we go. So this is going to be our map layer. Sorry, our tile layer. This is a class tile layer. And I think we'll have a draw function m.draw, and that'll be self. We'll give it an x and y to draw. Maybe we'll take a position in as a oh no, we can, well, no, we can just draw the whole thing. Okay, so this will actually be the drawing function that we have. So actually, most of what's in our map will become our map layer, except instead of having this set, but we'll take some of this data from the map itself. So this will be layer size, which will be MT. Yeah. This will be layer size as well. The tile size. Tile set will pull from yeah, so I think tile late moves there, and then this becomes we'll have a map size, and then we'll have layers. And these will be the different layers of our map. So we'll set the layers in there, like so, and then in our draw method, instead of drawing the tiles of the map data, we'll loop over each layer and we'll draw that. For layer, for each of the map layers, and then we'll do layer dot draw, and then so now we can draw our. We loop over each of the layers. And then we'll define here that this has the map size, and it also has the layers, which will be a array of tile layers, and we'll need to tell it about the tile layer module. So now when we render our map, when we go to init, a equals new tile layer, and then we have map equals new tile map of map size with the layer that we've just instantiated. It's receiving two. Tile layer is not imported either, so we'll import that. So this means when we run it now, let's see where we get an error. 115. So we've got our no, so import tile layer here. Oh, tile layer. There we go. Now let's restart it and see what we're getting. So on 100 and so something is offsetting it here. Yes, that was not how. That is not how we define an array in things. Okay, so then that looks a bit better. But, now we have a new error on line 29 of our new tile layer. I think that is because when we draw, we are not passing the self through. now if we run again, and we're back to having our little map with the sprite and things. Okay, so that's we've not gotten that far with this, but what that has allowed us is if we now open tiled, and then if I add this into OBS, okay. So if we look at this, this is a program called Tiled. So this will allow us to create a map. So I guess we want a new project. And inside this, I guess we want a new map. Let's go 20 by 30 by default. Let's try this for now. And then we want a new tile set as well. So a new tile set. We'll call this tiles, and for our source we want the we want the where are we? Source, no, not source. We want data, assets, images, and then we want our tiles. Here we go. So here we have our tile set. So with this, we can actually define terrains and things for the map. We have a tile layer here. Let's go floor. Okay, so if we edit our tiles, let's save this map as well. So we'll save this as village. So we can start to edit these tiles now. So here are terrain sets. So we can add a, I think we want a mixed set of terrains. So this is sort of where I was looking at with the, where am I thinking around the design of our, actually, we don't want that, we want a corner set, don't we? So we want a new terrain set, and we want a corner set. Call that terrains, and then we want to define some terrains first. So we're going to want grass, add another path, and then if we add another, we want let's rename those slightly. So what we can do with this now is we can then paint the terrains onto here. So here. So this is similar to what we were doing in our code, but it's a bit more visual to edit it. I think we were quickly outgrowing the ability to do this in the in code. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll write a loader that can load our terrain sets out of the, they can load the tile set from tiled, and we'll do the same so that we can load a hang on, no. How do I erase? Okay. Not sure on that, so we'll have to be careful around the edges, I guess. But yeah, so this is a much easier way for us to draw in our terrains. And we can use this to, we can then use these tiles to paint like standard tiles on the map. There we go. Yeah, so that gives us a thing, and then path says terrain set image, grass, we'll find a grass tile, says terrain set image, and water, we'll use this one, says terrain set image. Cool. So now we have our tiles defined. We can come over to the map itself, and we can start to draw some stuff in. So we can actually draw in a more sensible okay, how do we get this to put the train brush? We defined our terrains. Here we go, set. Grass, we want to use that one. And water, we want to use. And then so we've got all of these defined now. surface in here we want to then fill it with water. And then if we take our terrain, we can start to draw out so there's some artifacts there, so I'm guessing that means that our tiles aren't fully defined. There's a problem. So if we set that, save again, and then yeah, okay, so that problem's now gone away. Cool. So now we can draw on here and we'll get things drawn as we want. I think probably need to add a new layer, and then when I was reading about this, we can apparently here we go. So we can now offset this by -16 and -16. So we can get a very similar setup to what we had before. So yeah, so now we can actually just draw. Oh. I'm not very steady-handed today. Oh. So we can actually draw with our terrain quite nicely now. So now if we take this, we can start to draw ourselves a map. Here we go. So, oh, no. Yeah, I am. I have the stablest of hands today. Probably a bit too much of the Christmas sherry over Christmas. That sort of looks a bit organically drawn, right? Then we could put a path in. This is where it gets really so we don't actually have tiles for the transition, three-way transition between dirt and water. So I guess that's something else we need to add to our tile set. So it gets a bit ill-defined here, but so we can sort of keep going till we get a smooth transition. Yeah. So we can sort of define. Now we can sort of draw our tiles on, right? So if we had sand tiles, we could draw a beach on here. diagonals on the path don't quite run as well as they could do, but I've seen worse, to be honest. Okay, so if we save this, what we can do from here though is we can export data. We can also export our tiles. And what we can do is we can export these as Lua files. So now if we go back to our editor, if we look in our data folder, we now have this tile set of our terrains, and we have this one of the map itself. And then, okay, so this defines our layers, and then we have the data for the layer. We have offsets. So I think the next step is probably to write something up to import these maps. So yeah, and then the tiles here, and then yeah, and this is the equivalent of what we were doing with the train. So I think it's going around, and we probably want to. So we would want to take every other value here. So 2, 1, 2, 2, and that is equal to tile 25. So we can load our terrains now. So I think first up we probably want to be able to load. We're going to need the tile set first. So I think if we go into our tile set class, we have the new method here. But what we also probably want is a load method. M.load. And local self is equal to okay, and this will take a file name. So and what we will do here is return m.new outlets and trains. So Oh, thanks for joining, Story. Hopefully it wasn't all the talk of food that had you had you need to run off and cook, but or well, the Christmas sherry even. But yeah, so okay, so we've got our setup here. So we were going to want to open that file. So so we're going to load the data, which is, and then we can use love.filesystem.load. Tiles.lua. So this will give us a. So this will load. This will load the this loads in the file, but as a function that we can call, and then when we call the function, we get the value back. So we'll do that here, and that gives us the data that's in the file. And then when we look inside, this returns the name of the image. So we can then create our atlas. So love.filesystem. So we want to try and combine two paths, because we're going to have the path of the tile set, and the tile set knows the path of the image that it wants. So I think what we want is to take the name dot match, and then this will run a regular expression, and we want to go everything up to the slash. No, there'll definitely be a slash in there somewhere. We're not going to load anything from the roof. I guess we might. So let's so we want the path name, and then what we want is the image then. So local image is love.graphics.new image, path name, we'll concatenate that. We'll keep the trailing slash. No, we'll take the slash out on that one. Okay, so then we want to put the slash back in here, and then we want to put in data dot image. So that's our image loaded, and then our atlas is we'll need to load the tile atlas in. Oh, texture atlas even. And the texture atlas is require, and then it's this at the top here. We were just telling the type system about it, but now we want to actually use it for real within this file, rather than just the texture atlas type. So here we want to go the texture atlas dot new, and we've got the texture. We want the asset size. So I think that will be the tile width and tile height from the tile set. So we want vector2.new tile width, tile height. What else do we need to pass here? And we've got the margin and the spacing. Spacing and margin here is set to 0, so I guess yeah, let's call that. So we'll load that in directly here rather than a separate. We'd have to define too many variables. So we've got our size, and then we'll go vector2.new, and what parameter is this? We have margin and spacing, and this has margin and spacing. So this only has one value rather than two. So whereas we can define in our setup the offset both down and across independently, this one is requiring that we set them both, that they're both like the same. But that's fine. It just means we pass it into both. So yeah, so I think that is enough to load the tile sets from disk now. Next up though, we want the terrains. So if we look at our tile set, we want the Wang sets, which is to do with fun trivia. Wang sets is to do with Wang tiles. Yeah, which is but it's a way of having tiles that match. So I think that's where the naming comes from anyway. But a bit of random trivia there. Okay, so we have our tile sets here. So we've got the Wang, and this Wang ID is made up of the terrains, I think. so we have okay, so if we then take the terrains, and at the moment we can support the corner ones, right? But maybe we actually support this longer, because we were only using 4 of the values, but what tiled can do is it can match on the sides, or it can match on the corners, or it can match on all of those. So I'm thinking we maybe take all of them, but what it's missing though is the actual terrain of the tile itself. Which would be a problem for actually no, it's not a problem for us. We don't really care about that because of the way we're doing our offset sort of grids. So I think we'll take it and we'll add an extra number in here at the end for the terrain itself of the tile. But for now, I guess for this, we'll just, when we import it, we'll just set them all to 0. As this doesn't support it, but that might be useful for us in the future, which means that our terrain set data will have to change slightly. No, I think we're going to say we only support the corners. We're only going to support the corner sets, and we're only going to support loading the Wang sets for the corner sets. So we have our. Oh, we've got some metadata around the types here, which we don't really have currently. But we can also go into these. So I think when we load our terrains, we want to go. Oh, hang on. I've mirrored. Yeah, so we want to go. Terrains is equal to an empty table, and then for and then if data dot Wang sets 1. If we look at this, so yeah, we'll load the first one for now. I think it could be cool to support multiple types later, but no. Wang sets, Wang. Yes. So we'll load the first one and. No. Okay, so for underscore Wang set in tiles. Sorry, in data dot Wang sets. Do if Wang set dot wang set type is equal to corner, then this is the one we want, and at the end of this we want to break. Terrains we'll set to nil, and then here we go, terrains is equal to a table, and then for each of the wang tiles in this wang set, for underscore tile in tiles do, and then we want to go in table dot insert into our terrains. Oh no, this we're going to use as a dictionary, aren't we? So hang on, so it's terrains, and then we want ID equals tile dot, was it wang ID? Yeah. So we're going to want ID 2, ID 4, ID 6, and ID 8 is equal to tile dot tile ID, and then and then break here will mean that we don't keep. We'll use the for loop and we'll loop over. So that's I pairs wang set, and the same here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to loop over each of these sets. Sorry, I've been trying very hard not to laugh because wang actually means something quite rude in British English, but maybe don't Google it. And if you do Google it, make sure it's not an image search and that you have safe search on. But yeah, so for each of these wang sets, we will loop over, and we'll look for one that has the type of corner. And then when we find that, we'll go over each of the tiles, and we'll take the ID and we'll take offset 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, and 8 as our values. We'll take the ID 0. Sorry, we'll take the tile ID out of that as well for each of the IDs, and that will give us our tile set. With both our terrains and with the and that gives us our terrains, and it also gives us our tile image. So now in the init method, rather than have to load the tiles in separately, I'm not happy with this either. I think this needs to go. I do like to try and make everything a message bus, but I'm not sure if it fits this. But that's a problem for another day. That can be next week's problem. But yeah, so now our tiles, instead of creating this, we go tile set dot load, and then we want to load data tilesets tiles.lua instead of this. Let's leave that in for now, and then if we run the game now, oh, we have a bad argument. Tileset Lua line 33. This is. I will get used to this eventually. It's a Lua thing that you don't very often see in other languages. It's a different character. So between calling something on a module and calling something on an object. But let's give us a new error. So that is not able to find. So maybe we need to wrap this in file system dot like that. What happens if we try wrapping it? No. So this gave us a random, some sort of random value back. So the file name is a string, and this returns a tile set. So zero, so from character 1 to character 3. Well, that is equal to this. So a while loop is like a for loop, but it will just run continuously until this is false. So we want to do file name equals file name dot sub character 4 onwards, and then while that is true, we do path name equals path name match, and then we want everything up to the slash again. So this will nibble away the last section of the path each time there is a dot dot slash at the start of the file name. So in theory, this should then reduce the path name down until we get to the common ancestor of both the image and the file name, of the image and the tile set, and then it combines them together. Oh, sorry, I've had the game window open. Yeah, sorry. So this is what I did. So this is a while loop, and what a while loop will do is run all the time that this is true. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, on each loop, we're going to take the first 3 characters off, and we're going to start a new string starting at character 4. So we'll take character 4 through end of string, and then we'll compare characters 1 through 3 to see if it equals the dot dot slash. And each time we remove dot dot slash from the start of the file name, we will remove one folder from the path name. And in theory, this should then just run until it finds, until this is the common ancestor folder of both files. And this is, and this no longer has any dots in it. And then, okay, then the proof is in the pudding, and still not working. So why did that not load? You look at the image, yeah. Is it this condition? Is this what's incorrect? So if we print that value and we run things again, if we run things again now, then have a look at the debug console. What? That seems incorrect. Oh, hang on. No, it's we're looking at the wrong thing here, aren't we? So local image file is equal to data dot image. So we put that there, and then we want to trim away from this, and then we want to load that. We want to load that image file. Oh, sorry, no. We want to load path name dot image file. Okay. So we are actually getting somewhere. So that seems to have loaded the image. So yeah, needed to look at the image file itself, sorry, the image file rather than the name of the folder itself, because that is always going to have the never going to have the dot dots in it that we were worried about. Okay, so now we're getting a problem in texture atlas. Let's print some of this out as well. So if we print the tile width, the tile height, margin and spacing, and then we run again. What values do we get? So 32, 32, 0 and 0. That's what we were expecting. Let's have a look and see at the what happens if we print the dimensions. Six, 256 by 256. So it's loading our image. It's the right size. But we're not getting so our terrains aren't technically correct, I guess. Okay, so that loads. I think that bit's running fine. We're loading the texture atlas fine. The problem we have is we're then trying to access a tile that doesn't exist. So let's have a look at what we get for the trains as well. So if we run the terrains, so run this again and have a look at what we actually let's stop printing things and actually debug it properly. We'll put a breakpoint in and then we can actually inspect the values. Ah, okay. So we generated these, but we didn't put the colons in. So what we need is the colons in between the values to put things back to how we had them before. I did a stupid hair. There we go. So now when we look at the trains, yeah, those are as we sort of expect them. But how these rotated is the other question. So for our first tile, we have the terrain 1, 1. We have 1, 1, 2, 2. That doesn't seem right. Ah. So these IDs are one less than, yes, this is using 0 offsets, whereas we need them as to be 1 offset. So for each of these, we want to set its tile ID +1. Then if we run it again, okay. So it's not quite right, but I think this is because the rotation we had is different to the rotation that the set has. So this decided that the bottom right is the thing, so it's rotated around by 1, which means I started here and 1, 2, 3, 4. So this must be going 1, 2, 3, 4. Which means that position 2 actually goes at the end. So if we run that again, no? Okay. So that, it wasn't a case of that. Maybe it's, that went the opposite direction. So go, put the 8 at the start. Then we can run yay, and we're back to what we expected. Our trains have inverted a bit because the numbers have from tiled are 0 offset, I think. Oh no, I think we've just gone in a different order, right? So we've gone path, grass, water, whereas before we had grass and then path. Okay, so that's fine. I think this is not too bad. So we've got sorry. So yeah, so this is we've we have got a setup now where we're loading our templates from a file and then rendering that in here. So that's not too bad. That's what we're after. I think so we can do that with this. I think maybe for consistency's sake, we should try and follow convention, and we will rotate our values around in the engine so that they match this format instead. So when we do when we draw, we have we go the other way around. So I think maybe we should reorder our, oh yeah, oh no, we're not doing it there, So when we do the mapping here, that's the one. We should move that to the start there. And then if we run again now, wait. So we're loading it in this order. So we're putting, okay. So we need to get this into the right order now. So I think, do I have to go the other way around for this one? Yeah, okay. So we've got our map back. And then our tile map, we'll add a new load method in here as well. This will take a file name again. We'll load a tile map, and this is a string. Here we go. So this will do similar to what we did in our tile sets. So we will probably want to order that a bit like that. That's the loading, then we've got the file name part. Yeah, so then we can go and, oh, no. That was done, I hard coded the file name there. So we've got to load the file name. Here we want to do the same, we want to load the file name. Get the data out of it. Okay. So then if we look at our map, it says a width and a height. Tile width and height has the tile sets. So we can load the export file name, and then we can load the layers. And these have the offsets, okay, so yeah, so this is why we were adding in the concept of the layers earlier, because I knew it would come up here. So with this we can new return m.new vector2.new, and this will be data.map size, data.map, what do we have? No, data.width and data.height, that was one. data.height, and we'll add layers, and we'll go local layers equals a table for layer in for in 5 pairs of the data.layers, I think. Actually, the other thing we want is we'll go chunk. So this uses a tile set, but where does it pull the tiles from? This is a tile layer, XY, height, ID, name, class, visible, opacity, data. Doesn't actually specify which tile set it uses. Okay, so I guess it can actually just, I guess the tool supports multiple tile sets, and the index will be based on when one tile set runs out, the next one will start. Yeah. First global ID. Okay, yeah, so this starts at tile 1, and then if we added another tile set, it'll start at tile whatever the next, whatever we have here. So what's this, 8 by 8, which is 64. So this, I guess if we added a second tile set, this first GID would be 65. Okay, so let's take our file names and we'll load the tile set. So we'll go for the first tile set name only. So we go for tile set file, and while tile set file is there, we'll move backwards, and this will be tile sets 1 dot export name, export file name. Yeah. So we've got our export file name. No. Sorry, wrong. We don't want to edit the tiles. We want to, here we go, export file name until we find the files, and then the tile set will be equal to, or tiles even, sorry, equal to tile set dot load path name slash and then the tile set file. We'll import some modules up here first. Local tile set is equal to require tile set, and we're also going to need the tile layer is equal to require. We want the tile layer as well. So that's giving us all of the different values that we need there. Okay. So that should load our tile set, and then for each layer, for then we want to have a look at the type is equal to tile layer. If item dot type is equal to tile layer, then we want to load this into a new tile layer field. We don't even actually support a lot of these functions. We probably should. So then we can go local layer is equal to new, then we want item.data is our data. The layer size is if we have a look here, we have a width and a height. Okay, so vector2.new item.width item.height. What else do we need to pass to this? Tile size. The tile width, the tile height there. Okay, so local tile size is equal to vector2.new data.tile width data.tile height. Where are we? So let's close some of these panels. Here we go. So we now have 3 of our fields, and then the last one is the tile set, which we also have loaded, right? So we can go tile set in there as well. And then we can go table.insert layers, and then we add our layer. And then we should be able to load maps. iPairs, let's fix the spelling of that. Yeah, and then we should be able to, sorry, and that was tiles, not tile set. We should now be able to load our map directly from disk. Now, and not have to go for anything else. So we should be able to now comment this out. Comment this out as well. And comment these out. And go local map is equal to tile map dot load. And then we want data dot map, sorry, slash maps slash village.lua. So then if we run things now, we get tile map 51. Single equals there, and we should have 2 for a comparison, 1 for assignment. So that was our problem. We run again now. This is because the indexes are all going to be 1 offset. Sorry, 0 offset again, but we have 1 offset tiles indexes, so this is probably not the best way of doing this, but for now it will work. So we're going to loop over each item of the data, and then we go table insert data, value will be 3 plus 1. And then instead of adding the item data, we'll add this new value. If we run again, we've still got an error. So it's still trying to render a tile that doesn't exist. That's what the error we have effectively means. So if we run again, then let's have a nose at what data we have. So we have our layers. Okay. I think our tiles are fine. So I think maybe we didn't need this after all. What we have is a problem where if we try to draw a tile, where's our draw method? Here it is. So if index equals 0, return. Because I think what we have is in our tiles. Now, actually thinking about it, in our so the tile set runs from 0 onwards, and then I think in the map, what it's doing is it's saying the first tile is 1, and then I think tile 0 is an empty tile that can't be rendered. So I think actually if we go, if the index is less than or equal to 1, or well, let's go for less than or equal to 1. Then, yeah, so if it's less than or equal to 1, sorry, no, if it is less than 1, that's the one. If it's less than 1, then we don't try to render. But then, here we go. And now, here we go. So this is the map that we drew in tiled, now rendered out into our engine. We have a bit to look at it here in the our transition between when we had a three-way transition between grass and earth. So grass path and water. It's caused some glitches. These we can iron out though. So I think what this means is we'll just need some of the four corner tiles, and we'll need to make sure that we have a set that matches each type. But we could also manually fix this by going in and editing the tiles. So let's have a quick look at the map itself, and then if we zoom in and we grab a tile, so we draw the tiles directly. Yeah, so this is the one we want. So here we will have, this, we'll put that there. We run that on there. How do we blend this one? These two in. Here we go. It's still not perfect, but it's a bit less glitchy, I think. And then we'll put a bottom like that in, and one of those. And then we'll put a curved water one in. No. Alright. Well, as I said, we need some tiles that will reflect the transition between the different types. But once we've got those in, then we can start to smooth out these corners. But I think this is a good place to call it for the day. Let's export all of our files. Just close this window, go for 5. Yeah. So, and now we can see the changes we made here, and they're loaded into the game. So I think that's a good place to stop. So we've gone from, we refactored the map loading code a bit. So we've still got our terrain related tiles. I think what I will add is a concept of terrain layers, and I think that next week we'll fix some of the stuff around the game objects, because I still think that's not quite what we want. So we'll rip out some of the stuff we did towards the end of last week, and we'll replace that with something a bit more tidy. And then when we come back, we'll look at our terrain again. And I think what the idea is, we have our tile layers at the moment. What I think I'll do is I'll add a terrain layer that links to it. And that terrain layer will manage the data in the tiled layer. So it'll sort of wrap the tile layer and control it. Control what tiles it has, and then sort of pass through the draw calls to the underlying one, and that'll give us back our flexible sort of layers. But in the meantime, we now have working loadable. We now have working loadable maps and loadable tile sets. So the maps are probably not going to be as useful when it comes to our terrain generation, but being able to edit the tile sets in something outside of that is outside of the text editor is going to be really useful. So yeah, big progress again. If you liked the video, give it a like. And we will be back, I think, next week for our first. No. Well, actually, I think this will be the last one. Our last stream for a short while. We'll be off for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll be back. And when we come back, we will look at the tile sets and things. So if you want to catch that video, hit the subscribe button. Mash the notification bell, and we will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.